It started on the phrase boom, 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 boom.
Spooky music. The elves, they've got their...
The elves. The elven music?
Oh, I got the Doppler effect and everything.
I think those guys are off key.
Let me make sure these guys know when to quit. Don't start again,
They
guys.
never know when to quit.
Don't start
Just
again.
like us.
Hey. But you never want to quit when it's like, it's Christmas time. And
It's Christmas
science
time.
is everywhere.
I have on my Christmas tie. I'm all set and ready to go. Hey, just want to mention before we get started on episode number 867 for Radio Science News, December 3rd, 2022.
Wow.
That Libby and I will be at the Wheeling Arena this evening.
Oh, nice.
From 5 until 7:30.
Are you wrestling there? Or?
Yes,
Oh,
I
no,
will
no.
be wrestling. No, I will not be
Tag team wrestling. The Strongs. I like it.
in the cage. Yeah, Libby wins again.
Well, yeah, of course. Cage match. So
no.
that's a wonderful event.
Yes, there will be a. I think there is a hockey game there this evening, and they have.
Nice.
The small businesses.
Yeah, so they invited us as one of the small businesses to come and just show some of our wares and to get people to think to shop small and shop local.
Well, that's really
I
cool.
think it's a great
Well,
idea.
and listen, hockey is a big. I was watching one of the Channel 7 or Channel 9 news, and they were covering. And there are a lot of people. It's very, very enthusiastic. It's
very
a wonderful sport.
enthusiastic.
As winter comes on, it even makes more sense.
My dad used to say, any sport where you can hit somebody with a stick is a great sport.
Now, see, now I'm laughing because my dad. I remember as a
No,
child.
he actually
Well,
said that. Yeah.
I can tell you what my dad actually said. It was a very common phrase back in the, I'm going to say this is the 50s. He said something about if you had somebody got a hockey puck, and he goes, he said, yes, that and 10 cents will get you a cup of coffee. So I was thinking that was weird. But then the other one, of course, he always said is that he went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. So, so
He went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
I said, please explain that.
That pretty much, yeah.
Sometimes, but you guys will have a peaceful Christmassy thing in
will
the
have a
midst of the
wonderful Christmas.
festive activities. I like
Yes,
it very
will
much.
be very nice. Hey, I also want to mention that we here at Smart Center Market, every Saturday at 1 p.m., we're getting back to our 1 p.m. Science Saturdays.
Nice.
And today we are going to be doing Christmas reflections. And when I say reflections, mirrors and so forth, it's going to be very nice. And so
I do know what that is.
This
It is
is
cool.
for kids of all heights and all ages.
and whatever heights you seek to obtain. And of course, I'm excited because I was digging through my, my sock drawer, and I found my family tends to hide my musical instruments. and so,
I was going to say, so your wife hid that in your sock drawer.
oh, they found it.
Oh darn! He found his penny whistle.
I happen to feel that the penny whistle and Christmas were just made for one another.
I definitely think they are
And-
just like the banjo and any time.
Well, there's that.
Yes.
But so like I've been brushing up because I'm thinking, man, I go out in the field and I play and the herds of deer come up
And go, shut up!
so we may have a little piece of Christmas music as we start off every week
are
here.
you saying that the woodland creatures come
Oh, they
up to see
do.
who is playing a penny whistle?
Well, I think it's that, and they're trying to escape the deer hunters. They figure, the way I see it is they figure, I mean, I can't ascribe huge intelligence
Yeah.
to the deer population because
Okay.
I don't know. But they may be thinking, if they haven't shot this guy, They're not going to shoot us.
Then they're not going to shoot me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to test the theory, so I'm usually pretty quick.
So wait. So I know that you're not supposed to spotlight deer, and you're not supposed to put out
or gaslight deer.
Right, or a gaslight deer. You are not supposed to put out certain things during a hunting season. Are you allowed to call them in with a penny whistle?
I'm not sure, but actually, we have usually had a deer in our. I mean, we have a lot of deer where we live, and we're pretty nice to them, so they know.
I
it's
know
safe.
you are.
We're not like the people that feed them and everything, but I have actually been able to go out on my back porch, and there were like a set of twin fawns.
Mm-hmm.
And they're up there doing what they're kind of like following mom and not sure what's going on, and they're very curious. And I mean, you can play music or something, and they'll kind of they'll come toward you and just to figure out what's going on. Yeah. So.
Well,
anyway.
I don't know if there's anything in the West Virginia hunting
codes,
regulations about a penny whistling deer, but
we'll check into that. I'm hoping it keeps them safe through the holidays. So, hey, listen, so we can maintain our safety through the holidays.
Let's do it.
We're hoping to get through all the topics I have on the Launchpad of Science. Why don't you get the folks to the Radio Science News Launchpad of Science?
Just want to say again, you've tuned into Radio Science News. My name is Robert Strong. Richard Pollock is to my right, your left, out there in Radio Land. This is episode number 867 in a series. If you're into prime numbers, the factors are 3, 17, and 17. This is December 3rd, 2022. So I'm going to take you to my favorite webpage on the internet, which is www.smartcenter.org. It's a wonderful webpage. When you look down, you'll see little trifecta rainbows, little Radio Science Newses in rainbow triplicate. And just above that is the live link that I'm going to go to that. And lo and behold, we have Radio Science News. That takes us directly to the page. We've got Artemis. This is an Artemis
upgrade on Artemis.
Okay. And then, of course, Mauna Loa.
Maybe more timely.
I want to send a shout out to Lisa King, a good friend that is living there. For some reason, I've been so busy, I haven't checked my email in like the last week, and I got an email from her saying that she's living on the only island with 2 active volcanoes. Really cool.
She's talking about tag teams, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Millisecond pulsars. So a millisecond is, of course, 1,000th of a second. So this is a pulsar that's spinning at least as fast as 1,000 times a second. Yeah. Wow, cool.
Faster than the skaters at the Wheeling Symphony on Ice the other night, which was a wonderful event.
I didn't get to see that.
Pulsars. There's a really cool thing about, it has to do with, anytime there's anything about telescopes that has to do with, say, the analysis and the way they're going to do it that makes it better for telescope
Good. I am
salespeople
all for
like
that.
You guys that have telescopes.
Okay,
I always put that. Wormhole. We've all talked about
those wormholes.
Speculative wormholes, but they're doing some interesting math and analysis. Big news. I mean,
Tesla semi.
Some good news from Elon Musk. I'm a little worried about Elon. I like to get him to stop by here, and we could, give him some decaf coffee and calm him down and send him in the right direction.
I'll tie him down and gag him up.
But this is big news. I saw this 5 or 6 different places. They have
the Tesla semi.
They're on the road.
It's coming out.
They're
okay,
on the road.
I would like to see one. Hybrid
rice, a scary story.
Hybrid rice. So mine is going over to the second line. Okay. All right.
So now this isn't, and actually this is a story. In some ways, our good friend Michael Monakis, who's just one of our good friends and all into science and stuff. We've had some controversy about whether they should reintroduce the American chestnut and we go back and forth.
It's a fascinating controversy because on one hand you're going, this is a fabulous, wonderful idea, and then on the other hand you go,
but what about the chestnut people? There's other issues. Well, there's always more than one factor.
There's always more than one side, and you just need to decide, are we being overly conservative or are we being overly non-conservative?
Well, and of course, and then you can be in that position where you go, well, nobody ever had heart surgery before, so we shouldn't do it. That's not a good way. I mean,
Right.
just my overall. We'll talk about it a little bit because
Okay.
I think this one will scare him more than the chestnut. So, Michael, just a warning out there.
That isn't a good thing to scare
This
our
will scare.
friends.
Then this is about Ewingite. This has to do with
Ewingite.
We were talking about the subduction and the moisture.
Yeah.
I think this one relates to that because this is one
Right.
of those cool thing from the folks that are doing nanotechnology and stuff, developing new polymers and something. It's the e-plastic. The next one is about the ECAT SSKL. We've been talking about this for a long time. I think there is literally a live on streaming demo on YouTube TV that'll be, and this is the link to that. I think it
Okay.
comes up maybe it's not today or I think it may be Monday or something.
Okay,
the 5th.
I am.
Sorry about the T-Rex sale. I know you're not selling your.
No,
you've
we
seen
are not
this.
going to sell our T-Rex.
The
But then
interest-
our T-Rex is going to be 3 or 4 orders of magnitude less than their
Well,
T-Rex,
yeah, but
probably.
this goes to one of those issues about when people monetize everything in the
Yeah.
world, like science or discoveries. Or I happen to be there was an older show of Antique Roadshow that my wife had just clicked on, and they were selling a letter. The question was, is it worth more now than when it first came on the show 10
Sure.
years ago? And it was a letter from Albert Einstein.
Cool.
And part of the thing was, a lot of this stuff goes up almost inordinately. And some of the stuff is the Einstein letter, of course, I get that. That's really valuable. But then they had some really quirky artwork by a great, quirky artist. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, my wife has those at preschool. I mean, I was thinking, what made it so? But it was because of the fame and the glory
Right,
of his later.
right.
Now it went up and it was worth like $1 million or something. So anyway, this T-Rex sale goes to the fact that a lot of the great science, sometimes it never even gets to scientists because there's a black market for
Right.
hidden stuff. But I would have never thought that like some of the issues you're now having is that there are problems with the intellectual research and all that being stymied by the fact that people are just buying these things and putting them in their private collections
Yeah.
and they're never even
That isn't good.
streamlined. Cool story. We're talking about T-Rex and fossils. It has to do with one of the first. I put streamlined and rip dive together
Okay,
because
rip
streamlined
dive.
had to do with the evolution of some when they talk about non-flying avians or flightless
Yeah.
birds. They're starting to see the evolution in a very cool fossil where like ducks and things are becoming streamlined. Rip dive is when you dive into the water, and some people say, I don't give a rip, I'm diving into the water. There's actually an interesting technique that has to do with you. If you're an Olympic diver, and I know that Robert, you're very close to that. When you get
I
down to
have
the
been very close.
Oh, wouldn't you?
I have about 2/3 of the times I will hit a belly first,
Well,
actually. Yes.
See, you get points off for that.
Yes,
but
true.
it's actually true that when you enter the water with dives, and it's not so much it's for racing divers too,
Yeah.
but then a lot of the people that are doing the platform diving and stuff. I mean, obviously there's an issue of how you enter the water, and so there's a whole bunch of physics that is associated with the entering of the water and preventing a splash.
A splashback.
which
Yep.
is cool. Earphones. Gosh, I'm going to click on this because
Earphones. All right, so all
just to
the
start
way-
with, since I don't want to waste any. Here we go. Here it is. Wireless earphones as inexpensive hearing aids. Now, if anybody, and when I say anybody, because I know that people that I know, and I think even you recently, or may have, become.
What?
You may have become someone who purchased everybody has cell phones or two
Sure,
or three
yeah.
or their kids have them. And one of the things, of course, that you do like if you have kids that have iPhones or iPads or other, type of things, everybody knows that one of the great technological things that have come down in price and are really quite amazing are you have all these Bluetooth earbuds. And so somebody
They are everywhere.
well, and I've even been surprised with a lot of the since I'm into music. You could tell by my penny whistling playing that I'm approaching getting into music. One of the surprising things is like for example on an iPhone you can get just a decent app. For it's very common and it's free and it's for doing. But the quality of the digital recording is like what you would pay $100 an hour in a studio
Right.
like just years ago. So it's really a surprising thing. And until you look at it and realize that they're just making it as good as it is, but they want to sell it, and the quality is their goal. This is a cool story. We'll just start off with this because Dr. Cheng.
Okay, so it says some commercial earbuds can perform as well as hearing aids. The result could help a large portion of people with hearing loss access more affordable sound amplification devices. This
Yeah.
makes absolute perfect sense to me.
And one of there's always been this contentious thing that hearing aids have been one of those things that have kind of been part of the healthcare mix.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you just can't sell you have to have licensing, and so. Really, if someone were to Google high-end hearing aids, you're going to find out we're talking thousands of dollars.
Well, it says here the premium hearing aids cost $10,000,
Yeah.
and the basic type cost $1,500. Both models of AirPods are significantly cheaper than hearing aids, with AirPod 2 costing $129.
Oh, and even if you go to
and
the
AirPods Pro costing $249.
Well,
$249 compared to $10,000, duh.
Well, and the thing is, when people say, well, but is the sound quality good? The thing that's crazy is the sound quality of most of these things, and I'm going to say the Apple folks and all the other folks that have developed them. First of all, when you're selling to people that are real music aficionados and kids, they're not. I mean, there are even Dr. Dre. He has Beats. They have made millions because they want it to sound really, really good.
It says right after the cost analysis, notably AirPods Pro meet 4 out of 5 technology standards for hearing aids.
Oh yeah, and even the cheaper ones were. Really good. I'm just going to say, if anybody has used these, if you're studying and you're in the library, or if you're working, you're playing music while you're working, these things sound so much better than super expensive headphones and things in the past. And of course,
this is really neat.
Long story short, what they're basically saying, because I've even been seeing commercials where now you can get the little rechargeable earbuds, and those have come down in price and all that, but they're still very expensive. It's wonderful when you already have a piece of well-designed, nicely priced stuff, because you already have. It's like, well, I already have an iPhone, and I use you get these little the Bluetooth, earbuds are so good. Basically, they're saying you have in your hands already something that is, as they said, 4 out of 5 of the real high-tech standards, because it has to do with frequency and noise cancellation. So this is a really good story, supported by the Veterans Hospital and University System of Taiwan and Ministry of Science and Technology. I could be ordained as a minister of science and technology.
And technology.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, we're going to jump all the way back.
I like that a lot.
We're going to jump all the way back to the
Artemis?
To the Artemis, just to get an update, because
Artemis update.
These guys are on their way. The ship is on its. No, there aren't any guys on there except Snoopy and I think a couple other characters. There, I was thinking, is this product placement? I'm not sure. Just in time for Christmas, the Snoopy astronaut doll. But the last time we checked, they were kind of like a day behind in their thing. This is taking a while to load up. I got this from space.com. I was kind of looking at the NASA thing, and they had too much stuff. I was thinking, I want the update. I want the quick, where are they now? So from space.com.
It says check back here for live updates on the mission.
And here it is. Artemis 1 mission live. What do we have here? I'm going to see. Now that was published, the main article, but further down in they have a link to the actual updates. Where is it now? Please don't make it hard for me to update. Down here, Artemis Orion, the distant retrograde orbit. Oh, here's the one.
The Orion spacecraft is on its way home today, December 2nd, on day 16 of the Artemis 1 mission. The spacecraft is more than 230,000 miles, 370,000 kilometers from Earth, which is essentially the average distance from the Earth to the Moon.
Yeah.
Okay, Orion successfully executed its departure burn from the Moon's orbit yesterday, December 1st. A second burn will happen on December 5th. During a close approach of the Moon, roughly 79 miles. I thought they were doing 60, but I guess things have changed a little bit.
But now this is where they were doing, because I was thinking, where was this is going to be the close pass of the Moon.
So it says the splashdown in the Pacific Ocean is expected December 11th.
Oh, this is cool. So we'll definitely.
So that will be next Sunday, and we'll have next Radio Science News on December 10th.
So we'll be able to talk about that.
We'll be one day out from Splashdown, the next Radio Science News.
Well, all right, this is good. We're just keeping track of this.
Good. Yep, we just want to make sure everything's good.
The emerging mission. And, of course, the biggest parts of the concern are going to be the re-entry and splashdown, because, well, there's a whole bunch, heat shield things. And I think they're actually pushing it beyond what they feel will be the typical reentry parameters.
They
as they
want
say.
to just make sure that when you're when you're going to put human beings in there, you
got some room.
want to have some wiggle room there.
Yeah. And,
Yeah. So the next up is Mauna Loa.
well, and that's one place they don't want to splash down.
No, you don't want to splash down in the lava plume.
This
there.
is exciting because even as I put this story, I tried to find a story just yesterday, so it would be the latest thing. And this is kind of a good one from Science News, folks. It's basically what you need to know.
What you need to know.
Hawaii's Mauna Loa volcano is erupting. Here's what you need to know. First of all, what a fabulous picture.
Says the world's largest active volcano is awake again after almost 40 years. On November 29th, which just a few days ago, Mauna Loa was spewing, I love the term spewing lava from a fissure on its northeast flank. Fountains from the fissure were up to 25 meters tall. So we're looking at like 80 feet in the air. That's like an 8-story building.
And then even this
coming out of the
morning, they
ground.
were I think they were talking about they were more like 100. So it's a little more active even as it goes along. The cool thing is that they point out that Mauna Loa stands shoulder to shoulder with 4 other volcanoes. And of course, a dramatic Kilauea. We hear about that. But I like and grumbling Mauna Kea. Well, I've got third billing. No wonder Mauna Kea is grumbling. Oh, what's the fourth one? Come on. Thank you, science people. There are 4, and here are 3 of them. See, that's my problem.
I know.
I have a little bit of that Columbo gene. I'm going. Wait. I've got my pencil. I'm going. Didn't you say there were 4? Okay. Well, we could find out about that.
I completely concur.
I'm also going to say,
what is your problem? There are 4, and you listed 3.
Well, and the thing that you're going to be able to find over these next couple of days, because it has.
See, good news is who, what, where, when, how, why, and how many.
Well, please just finish your thought. Don't promise me dessert if you're not having it. Okay.
Oh, well, now you have me thinking about dessert. Great, and it's.
Well, there are a lot of lava desserts. One of the things I found really fascinating in watching just a little bit of video I saw this morning from CNN or somebody, because it is dramatic to see. You're seeing the eruption, and everybody remembers that you watched some Raquel Welch movie where they're running across the lava flow or something.
I think I watched that 3 times over the weekend.
Holiday. Well, it's always a Christmas classic.
It's a Christmas.
It's classic. The one where they leave a footprint in the lava. Remember that one? Okay, but here's the thing that I find really fascinating, because you and I have talked a lot about this in terms of piezoelectric, the fact that when you see what is molten rock, lava flowing, and typically
red rock.
Well, and typically when you think of the science fiction movies where it's just slowly oozing out, and oh no, we've got to run. When they show a live image of it flowing, I'm thinking to myself, it is like this is flowing past it, I don't know, 40, 50 miles, and it's really zooming past.
Some places,
and it's almost, it seems, somehow it seems counterintuitive that molten rock, okay, we know it's rock and now it's melted,
right,
that you're seeing it flowing as fast as it almost seems like what you would expect from like a whitewater rafting or something. It's moving that fast. So there are all kinds of energetic things going on that just fascinate me. Where this will be really cool. The big deal is that it's very close to one of the major highways on
there is a saddle road.
Yeah, and then there's another one that's known as a safety, and it's not endangered at this point. But this one has. You have to imagine if during the period of time, it's been around, and man has recognized this. They've at some point they were saying in recent history that it would erupt like a brief period, but it's had this long period of sort of quiescence. Yeah, if I might use a sciencey word there.
You shall
have another drink of quiescence. Okay, so Mauna Loa, very cool. Robert, you have studied and talked about pulsars many times.
I love pulsars.
We are
one
lucky.
of my absolute favorite things to talk about.
We are lucky to be in a state where they have to look at other things like not optical or this particular thing. I think is this may be in an X-ray observation. So European astronomers have conducted. Now, we talk about the various spectra that you might look at something, visible or infrared. This has been done X-ray and optical observations, and this is what they're calling a transitional millisecond pulsar, PSR, J1023 plus 003.
One of my favorites.
I have no idea. You know, musicians would say PSR is a guitar that you might want to get for Christmas, but that's another story. My wife won't get it for me. So, the thing that I find fascinating is exactly what you said. How fast is this thing rotating to be a millisecond pulsar?
It says pulsars are highly magnetized, rotating neutron stars emitting a beam of electromagnetic radiation. The most rapidly rotating pulsars with rotation periods below 30 milliseconds, which is 1/32nd of a second, essentially, are known as millisecond pulsars.
MSPs.
MSPs. Astronomers assume that they are formed in a binary system when they are initially more massive, when the initially more massive component turns into a neutron star that is then spun up to accretion of matter from the secondary star.
Okay,
so what this means is that you have a star. It is pulling matter from another star. That matter is hitting the outer envelope of the star and putting energy into it to cause it to spin up.
Wow.
And then as it gets more and more massive, it will undergo a supernova explosion. It will send out part of the star's atmosphere. The reaction will implode it into a neutron star, and it will now have all of the rotational inertia collapse down into a very small space.
And just like the ice skaters.
Like an ice skater.
We've seen, everybody has seen the Olympic skaters that go out and they gracefully, with their arms extended, out. They're rotating, and you're going, wow, that's nice and graceful. And then they pull their arms in close, and because of the physics involved here.
So what happens is the mass of your hands and arms, which are extended away from the axis of the rotation of your body, that has to be conserved.
Right, the old angular momentum
when
thing.
you pull in to conserve that rotational energy, you now spin faster.
Boy, these things spin really fast.
And these spin at least up to 30 times a second.
Well, and they were saying to qualify for this class of pulsars, but this is really great. It has a spin period of approximately 1.688 milliseconds.
Wow.
So we're talking about it really fast. I don't even think dogs could hear this, Robert.
No.
That is really something.
And its orbital period, the time that it takes to go around the other star, is essentially 1/5 of a day.
Wow.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of spinning going on here.
Yep.
That is, so I was just intrigued by this because when people have, you're going back to when people first, even the concept of pulsars became widely discussed. Part of it came from the fact that they would hear signals that were like, it sounds like it could be a signal from,
it was the same
from
thing.
the aliens, like a beep. And it would be, it was something within your detection thing. But if you had instrumentation that was detecting this thing, and it's this kind of spin, you might not even see it because it's such a rapid vibration. Right. That's amazing.
When scientists had first discovered these, they had labeled them LGM. And the reason for that was that they didn't want the press to get news of it before they figured it out.
Yeah.
LGM stood for Little Green Men.
Don't say
because they were going, it's almost like this is an intelligent signal.
I know.
And
LGM.
So it turns out that it's a natural signal, but a signal that they didn't expect.
Yeah.
And of course the old fogey white male physicists couldn't figure out what it was, and it took
they didn't want to admit it.
it took a young female grad student to go,
hey,
maybe it's fast spinning pulsars. Maybe
they say, could you repeat that while I write it down?
Yes, could you repeat that so that I can write a grant and claim it as my own? Yes.
So this is really cool stuff, but and this next thing is a little bit into the weeds because we're talking about
this is a telescope.
First of all, I always love it when I find out that there's even better telescopes coming down the path.
Well,
we've had several suggestions.
We've had lots of suggestions to improve telescopes.
This is kind of this is like where you're actually It's kind of like, when you see those commercials for, I don't know, the different insurance companies, and they have the crash dummies, whatever they for the longest time. It points out that sometimes if you're going to deploy something, I don't know, like a car or seat belts or whatever it would be, if it's possible to test it before you deploy it, that's really good.
That's always a great idea.
So it's talking.
So it says new analysis approach could help boost sensitivity of large telescopes. Well, being that large telescopes are extremely expensive components of science, it would behoove us to be able to make them as sensitive as possible.
Okay, so they're showing, and there's a picture up here, they're talking about radio holography, and I'm going, what are you guys talking about? It says they're mostly talking about this, the Simons Observatory in Northern Chile.
Telescopes, it looks like.
It says we've developed a way, and of course, I'm looking, could you define what your radio holography is? And I think one of the things that does kind of show it, if you scroll down, there's a video, and you can watch it on YouTube. But if you click it, I think it's a real short video, because it's like 43 seconds, and all you're seeing is you're going, well, look at this thing going back and forth. So they have almost what looks like a computer, manufacturer thing going back and forth. But what they're doing is they have the orifice, the opening, part of this radio telescope, and what they're doing is they're using, they're calling it holography, but I'm assuming that what they have is using near field radio signals, and what they're trying to do is see how it works in this whole thing. Now the problem is, if you were going to do this in the cryogenic temperatures, it would be, they're talking about how it's expensive and it's hard, and you have to have a bright coherent source, yada yada yada. But you can see these smiling, and again, I'm going to say these look like young graduate students.
They do look like grad students.
The research team at Grace Chesmore and Katie Harrington. Some of those folks you were just mentioning are showing how they're setting this up to test it. So the big point is they're testing all this out before they have to put it into space and find out, oh, wait a minute.
It doesn't work the way we thought.
It didn't work the way we thought. The researchers found the telescope's optics matched predictions. They were also able to identify and mitigate sources of scattering before the telescope was deployed.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, because Robert may have pointed out to listeners that, like when you have a telescope, for example, that has something that scatters optical light, it screws everything up and makes it look like it look like Christmas cards with the three kings.
That's right. And you're going, why does every picture of a bright object with the James Webb scope look like a Christmas star? Yeah.
Oh, we three kings of Orient. Anyway, this is really
good.
Spent
billions of dollars and just got a star.
Just got a big star pattern in the middle of our thing that was supposed to be a spherical object.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's put these. Speaking of, this is also a simulation kind of thing.
Wormhole?
First of all, it's just interesting to me that basically people are already using quantum computers to do analysis of things that, they were saying, well, in the future, these quantum computers will be very helpful. Well,
you mean like today?
Like today from the California Institute of Technology. These guys are pretty good, Caltech folks.
So physicists observe wormhole dynamics using a quantum computer.
Wow.
California Institute of Technology. This was just at the last few days of November. They're developing a quantum experiment that allows them to study the dynamics or behavior of a special kind of theoretical wormhole. So which kind of theoretical wormhole is this the rotating or non-rotating?
Well, the first thing they want you to know, Robert, is don't worry. The experiment did not create an actual wormhole.
Oh, okay. So we're not creating wormholes.
Which, of course, is very simple.
We're doing a computer simulation.
A rupture in space and time. It allows searchers to probe connections between, they are called theoretical wormholes, and I'm looking for the specific.
I'm not saying, I don't agree with the term that a wormhole is a rupture in space and time.
Yeah, that's like a tear in the fabric.
That is like a tear in the fabric.
No.
This is a bend or warp in the fabric.
At the best, a bridge that's part of that.
It's not a tear. Okay, I'm just saying, if you're getting a space-time tear, I think we're looking at something completely different, and maybe something that would be catastrophic universally.
Yeah.
Because the universe is probably not made out of ripstop, a space-time fabric. being that it's not probably made out of ripstop space-time fabric.
Yeah, to say a rupture is a bad
to
idea.
rip it or rupture it is just a really bad concept. I think that stretched, bent, folded might work, but not ripped. That's a bad concept. Just
Well, and okay, this is a kind of
me.
a long article, and they're getting into entanglement, and I'm trying to find out when
says
they're-
wormholes are bridges between two remote
There you go.
regions in spacetime. They have not been observed experimentally, but scientists have theorized about their existence and properties for close to 100 years. In 1935, Albert Einstein and Nathan Rosen described wormholes as tunnels through the fabric of spacetime in accordance with Einstein's general theory of relativity, which describes gravity as a curvature, not a rupture
There you
or a
go.
rip, a curvature of spacetime. Researchers called wormholes Einstein-Rosen bridges after the two physicists which invoked them, while the term wormhole itself was coined by physicist John Wheeler in the 1950s.
just in time for science fiction
A
novels.
good old John, yeah.
Anyway, it goes through. It gets a bit deep into the weeds. This is the point where I always tell you on Radio Science News, you could cover an
Read
hour
on,
with
yes.
probably
Oh,
this
yes,
one,
yes,
but
yes.
take the time because they get first. When I got to the bottom, they were talking about the SYK model, which has to do with the scientist that first Sachdev Ye. Oh, Ye was in there.
Yay.
Not that guy.
Not
Katay,
that Ye.
A different Ye. Maybe he's hearkening back to this guy. I don't know.
I seriously doubt that.
But they're talking about using
Seriously.
SYK-like models, and what they're really looking at is like they're talking about quantum gravity. I mean, now we're really getting wow. So anyway, they're basically saying that we're at the point where we performed a kind of quantum teleportation equivalent to transversible wormhole in the gravity picture. To do this, we had to simplify the quantum system. And then it took a long time to arrive at the results, and we surprised ourselves with the outcome. The near-term significance of this type of experiment is that gravitational perspective provides a simple way to understand an otherwise mysterious many-particle quantum phenomenon. Well, that clears it up for me. How about you? Are you pretty clear on this?
I think I'm going to
I think I'm
have
gonna
to
read this
carefully
twice,
read it
yeah.
a few times to make sure that I have the gist. But
Yeah.
but as
And there's
as,
a link where you can get more information at
oh
the bottom,
good
too.
as Richard just said, the whole point of Radio Science News, it's to listen to two guys excited about science, and hopefully you are listening in
You're gonna
over
look
our shoulder.
further. You're gonna
and
look
you are-
further, too.
If this intrigues you, we have a link for you to jump in with both feet and really get a quantum gravity soaked here.
Well, and the other part of it is if this is your I had friends who spent a lot of time and effort and money on books on string theory and I found myself thinking, well, there may be better places to get information. They
Yes.
mentioned that you can go to the Alliance. That sounds like a science fiction story.
Alliance for Quantum Technologies website.
Ooh, AQT.
I love the fact that the study titled Transversible Wormhole Dynamics on a Quantum Processor.
Yeah, so they're basically looking at the idea that you're going to actually, in the original We Three Kings, who've traversed afar.
Yeah.
There it is,
There you go.
traversal. That word "trap" means that you could travel through this
possibly
quantum.
through these.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Now whether that means that
Theoretically.
subatomic particles
Yeah.
or something could travel through, maybe people, maybe spaceships, that is where science fiction comes in.
And I'm just going to say that
currently.
the one image that just kind of stuck in my head is because we've always seen these science fiction images of wormholes. As Robert said, if it's I'm thinking of where you have a fold in space time. So now that these two places that are actually 100 light years apart are so theoretically. The idea that they're saying that things on that you have quantum entanglement
Right.
at that point, and so it's a real. Forget
makes-
about bending space-time, bending your mind around this.
Bending your space-time mind.
Oh, speaking about people that get bent, or no, wait,
A Tesla?
Tesla semi. The only reason why somebody actually sent this to me because they said you've been talking about these Tesla pickup trucks and all this kind of stuff. I was saying that look, as soon as there was a lot of delay because of COVID and all kinds of other things in deployment of the Tesla trucks, which were announced quite, it says 3 years late.
If
They're here now, but they go, oh, well, you're 3 years late.
If you remember way back when in the archives of Radio Science Newsdom,
Yeah.
When the Teslas were first being spoken of,
People said, oh, you'll never do this.
we both
We asked,
we
asked to
said
send us
if
one.
you were to send us two, that we
drive
would
them, yeah.
personally drive them around the Wheeling Moundsville Funplex and let people
right.
see them. Never did you guys get back to us. Never did you do anything.
But we're
now,
still-
I'm
but we're
not,
still gonna be
I'm
nice,
not
right?
mean and nasty about it. But we just asked, could you send us a couple of these things, and we would advertise them.
Or in the case of this story, they're announcing the semi truck. Couldn't they send us a whole truck? I mean, really, seriously. No, everybody knows what a semi truck is. First announced as a concept back in 2017, and there actually have been some great videos. Now, but here's what's important. Science is one of those things. Sometimes people go, what's the difference between scientists and engineers? And people go, well, scientists come up with cool ideas and engineers make them happen, that kind of thing. One of the really important things is there have been all kinds of great reasons for a great aerodynamic thing that could be recharged and doesn't have to use. But the question is, oh yeah, well, who's going to ever buy one of these things? Now, this is only one of many articles I've seen where people have taken delivery of the trucks.
Good.
So they're saying this was late, and it says 5 years after they were first revealed, the first Tesla semi-trucks were delivered to customers at an event at the nearby, the Gigafactory, Sparks, Nevada. I know somebody that lives there. I might have to go visit them on this year. And here's the part that's so cool. Who bought it? The Pepsi-Cola company.
Yep.
Which has reserved, they're ready to buy
100 of them. Isn't that awesome?
They actually reserved 100 of them like 5 years ago, and they were on hand to receive the first batch. And then here's just a short thing on the truck. It's powered by 4 independent motors. So it has 4 independent motors, and it can accelerate from 0 to 60 in 20 seconds. That's when it's loaded. It has a battery range of 500 miles. But now here's the part that I found surprising. Not that you and I have been shopping for semi-trucks or anything.
Well, no.
But I'm going to say that if you were to go out and buy any kind of a semi-truck right now, I mean, I know people that have had to pay, they've gotten some big pickup truck to pull their trailers or something, and they're like, well, yeah, I got a good deal. It was only $70,000. They start at $150,000.
Okay, well, that's for a truck, for a semi-truck. See, it says here, over the weekend, Musk revealed that one of the Tesla's battery-powered Class 8 semi-trucks had completed a 500-mile trip, fully loaded,
81,000
with 81,000 pounds of cargo.
Wow, 40
That's
tons.
40.5 tons of cargo.
Wow.
The trip took place from Tesla's factory in Fremont, California, to San Diego, at the southern tip of the state. At the event, Musk clarified
I think
that
he
the
was
trip
able to
was
avoid
accomplished
driving
without needing to recharge
I
the
think he was
battery.
able to avoid driving over the Rockies, but other
Yes,
than that,
yes,
no.
yes, I'm sure. So,
But
so this is-
even as I say that laughingly about, oh yeah, if you have to drive if you have to actually drive over the Rockies and drive down the other side
right,
with regenerative braking, you don't lose everything.
right.
It's
but I just want to say that this is a 500-mile
Yeah.
trip with a fully loaded truck with over 40 tons of cargo. That's impressive.
Oh, this is, and if you read through this whole thing, you get more, and they're even talking about the much delayed Cybertruck is expected to come out in 2023. So, the other place where I'm seeing this, when people, I have friends and relatives, or maybe sometimes just relatives, that say, oh, this electric car is going to ruin everything. Because I'm thinking to myself, what are you thinking? Because once this, anybody who has just watched the TV commercials, this is a coming thing.
Yeah.
And
Certainly is.
even back in 2000 something, when the first EV1, General Motors, which is now, of course, deploying a whole system of electric cars, had the chance to deploy it back in the year 2000 or so. It was like they went, oh, our biggest problem is, well, now we don't have to change oil. There's no maintenance. So, everything is. They were looking at this like a more holistic thing of being a car dealer. Well, we sell you a car,
Exactly.
and then your car falls apart. We sell you another car, and we maintain it.
We're going to maintain it for you.
Because they showed the mechanics were out there, like when they were bringing the cars in to check them, it was kind of like, well, there's no oil, there's no transmission fluid, it's got one moving part, it's a rotor that spins some motor.
Exactly.
Anyway, so this is exciting. There are many other things about Elon Musk that maybe I'm not so happy he's doing right now, but I'm going to say this is a pretty cool thing.
This is a pretty cool thing.
The semi truck, and the Cyber truck. As soon as that Cyber pickup truck comes out, and I can hook up my my little hay wagon to it, out there on the farm.
Yep.
I might be looking into
going 0 to 60 on the farm.
Yeah, you could. It's not going to be a good thing for the annual hay ride.
No.
People say, "Where are the kids?"
I don't know.
I told them to sit down.
I said, "Hang on."
Yeah, hang on. And if you lost your hat, that's too bad. Hybrid rice. Now, this story, it's going to take a little bit.
Oh, what a beautiful picture.
It took a while for me to grasp this whole concept, because first I'm reading, wait a minute, more efficient hybrid rice breeding is achieved with female sterility technique. I'm thinking, this sounds bad from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm saying our good friend Michael is going to read this article, and he's going to say,
research led by Hong Kong Baptist University involving
it's
the
a
use
religious thing here.
of a pioneering female sterility technique.
See, that sounds bad already.
Has led to a breakthrough in the production of hybrid rice seeds. Compared to the commonly used three-line male sterility, I don't know
three-line male sterility
technique in hybrid rice seeds production, the novel approach enhances the efficiency of hybrid rice production by eliminating rice seeds that have been produced due to the self-pollination of the restorer line.
Okay, now I'm thinking, if Michael were here, we would be talking about this whole thing about you're going, okay, what do you mean by the restorer line? And here's kind of what it means. Mm-hmm. This is a long article, and I know people are going to want to look through, and it explains, first it explains the whole thing about the male sterility thing. The idea is that of course they want to breed a better rice.
Right.
It's like if you build a better mousetrap, the thing about the problem with most of the plants that have survived and evolved is that one of the most ideal things for a plant is if you can self-pollinate.
Right.
Because that means, I'll give you a perfect example. My father-in-law he was really excited about pecan trees. Mm-hmm. And he's traveling, in the South, and he wanted pecan trees up here. And after a while, he found out that you can get a hardy, pecan tree. But they said, but they explained to him, though, that they're not self-pollinating. So he bought 2 trees, and sadly, he bought 2 that were both, and they never pollinated. Oh. And just this past year or so, as a birthday present, one of my kids said, "Hey, here's a pecan tree," and it just turned out to be, it was just a little tree, and it just blossomed. We actually found, for the first time in over 30 or 40 years that these trees have been here, found 2 pecans that had grown on the original big tree.
Oh,
one of them had
fantastic!
And one of them had been eaten by a squirrel. The other was intact, and I replanted it. Okay. I called it the Christmas miracle. I said, "This is amazing." But in this case, what they're saying is, this rice that has survived. Obviously, people have been eating rice for a good long while, and they've been trying to improve it. But the one thing is, the thing that they've been working with is, so they come up with a really fabulous new, it's like the golden delicious apple or something.
Right.
Things will just cross, and you'll go back to all the old things like that, and you'll go, well, that was great. We put this tree out there, and every other pollen hit it, and now we want one that's like as close to the original golden delicious, but you have to get rid of all these other crosses.
The other trees.
And of course, the mechanism for the restorer line is because it allows the plant to continue to survive. But if you're trying to turn it into a really fancy, high nutrition, larger grains and all that kind of stuff, you need to develop the seed and all that. So they've gone through these intricate things of well, they're talking about sterile male first, and then now they found a technique using a sterile. The idea is they're preventing any of the restorer line from producing seeds.
Oh.
So now it's kind of like,
you just get the pure line.
Yeah, you're just getting that absolutely.
And that's all that you get.
Well, and it would be like, if somebody were in the Navy and they were on Guam, they would understand that on Guam there are a huge population of what are known as boonie dogs. Mm-hmm. And they are the dogs that have, over the time that man has been on the thing, and people brought dogs to the island, they're all kind of like a very medium-sized, plain colored, not
Right.
very, not. And if the problem would be if you were thinking, well, I want to raise Labrador retrievers on the island, you wouldn't want all this mixing, and that's
Right.
kind of what these guys are doing. Now, the only reason why I'm going to say that Michael is probably he's going to read this story and he's going to be going, yikes, too. I'm thinking to myself, and so what could go wrong? So the idea is that they no longer have to, by planting these, they have the female sterile and the male sterile. What they've done is they've managed to kind of eliminate the original.
Right. It says, in
Gito.
theory, using sterile female rice as a restore line is ideal because it cannot produce any self-pollinating seeds. However, this approach has not been adopted because the germplasm of sterile female rice remains extremely rare in nature, and sterile female plants find it difficult to self-reproduce.
Yeah, well, and of course,
So how-
if you were thinking, the story that this reminds me the most of is when I can remember a few years back, there was this terrible concern that there was a wheat rust.
Right.
And this even goes back to the discussion that we would be having with Michael Monakas about the American chestnut. It would, if it turns out that you have, as the American chestnut was like the ubiquitous, almost monoculture,
Right.
and some little thing comes into the environment from, say, like China, when people introduce Chinese chestnuts, the Chinese chestnut's resistant to this particular little rust thing. Well, it killed off all the American chestnuts. The concern was, at one point, they were saying, well, we've gotten to the point where everybody who grows wheat everywhere in the world is going to grow the best, the biggest, the
Right.
grades, and they're using, so it's, as with bananas and other things, we've moved into monocultures. And now when something comes along that can take it out, you could starve a
It takes
billion
all
billion
of them
people.
out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my concern with this story.
This has been a big concern about
Yeah.
about the rice crop.
What's the whole GMO
is that
concept?
If anything took out the rice, there would be several 100,000 to 1 billion people on the planet that would have essentially
before
no food.
before you could react to it,
Right.
Because they go, well, what are we going to grow now? And they say, well, we got rid of all the others,
Right.
Just a little scary. And I'm going to say that if you're going to use technology or science or genetic whatever manipulations or things, maybe what you might want to do is produce more varieties so that you're buffered against the
Yep.
dangers of a monoculture. But
I agree.
that doesn't always work so well because people go, well, I want the best tasting banana.
Yeah.
Well, that
I
disappeared.
want the biggest and the one that will stay on my shelf the longest.
I'll tell you what, because I just want to take a quick look at the ECAT SKL, let's
Okay.
jump to the page because I clicked to this and it's not an active link because it's going to be a live thing. Oh boy. Oh, here it is, presentation of oh no, that's the old one. I'm not even sure I'm going to have to go, let's see if I go back one if it goes back
Okay.
to, it doesn't go back to, I want to say, if I go to the top of the Radio Science News, let's go quickly where I have the Rossi blog.
Okay, the Rossi blog.
I want to see if I think it was saying like December 5th, there was a link. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff to read here, and if you're looking, I'm not going to try to sell anybody on any of this technology. We'll just have to see how it goes. But somewhere down into this, I was thinking it would have all been. And I'm going to say these scientists sometimes are not as quick as. Oh, here it is. Live stream of the ECAT.
And this is
December 5th at
Dec-
11:30.
December 1st.
Well, that's when they sent this. But he
Oh,
says,
okay.
do you confirm the December 5th,
December 5th at
11:30?
11:30. All right.
In Rome, the team will show live the measurement of the current consumed by the ECAT made by and they're going to, so there's yes, and here's the link, except the link actually says they left the tube out, so I had to correct that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's going to actually be, if you're listening to this, I'm sure it will be, and they're going to repeat it at 12:30 Miami time, 11:30 a.m. in Rome. And anyway, if
Cool.
you were to go to this, so that's going to be on the link that I have here. ECAT SKO is where they're having. It's kind of their YouTube channel,
Okay.
and it's been put up by the folks ECAT, the New Fire. It's loading kind of slow, but it will show up as a live stream, and then I'm sure it'll be archived. Just as now, when we get to this page, I don't know why it's taking a little bit of time. it actually has. I'm watching. We have more than 6 minutes.
Yeah. we've got
Why are
about
you loading
5
so
minutes.
slow? So when this loads, and if you're listening to Radio Science News, obviously the 5th is going to be Monday. And then after that, it should be archived and you should be able to see it. On this page, which isn't loading quickly right now, I'm going to give it one more chance, then I'm going to jump to something else. The video they do have is, here it is, ECAT, the light that saves more energy inspected. So here it is. What they have done, it says the video shows an LED headlight powered by what they're calling their mini SKL, which I think produces just 10 watts.
Yeah.
Except the test began on September 30th and is intended to run for 9,000 hours. So if I click on here real quick, basically what they're showing is, and this is a live thing. This is going on all the time. So if you click down there and it says it's live, right now there's not that many people watching it. But the point is,
So 9,000 hours is essentially 1 year.
yeah. And so here's the thing. This is like a 10-watt light, right? But they're showing the top line is the volts, so it's a 10-volt light, and it's the second light is the amps,
Which is 0.
because it's actually 0.00 something one something. It's that much. The third line is the watts that are. So that's what the thing is consuming, and this is what it's producing. You guys have to take some time and look through, and there's some discussions.
That's really
of it.
cool.
So this has been running since September 30th, and they expect to run it for 9,000 hours. Not bad. Okay, so just be aware that that's there. We'll get into this more. It's one of the things that's it's just kind of interesting that this is going on when people are talking about boosting oil production and maybe partnering with the French. Now, Robert, you were in a French country for a while.
I
weren't you?
was.
You were in Benin.
I was in Benin.
When I begin the Benin. Now, see, the thing that's been driving me kind of crazy is now there was a lot of controversy for the football and soccer players where they criticized one of the American teams for pronouncing Iran as Iran, and they were calling him out on the carpet. Well, the other part that's been crazy is watching them trying to figure out, is it Qatar? They basically, Qatar is the. It kind of sounds like guitar.
Right.
But everybody pronounces it differently. I'm thinking, can't we sort of get together? You know, if you're gonna get after this guy for not pronouncing Iran correctly, couldn't we get all the? Well, here's President, what's his name, from France, and I was thinking, I kind of like. It's really interesting because basically I'm thinking my French teacher would have said Macron, and she would have made a point to say, all right, I'm going to tell you aspiring French speakers that if it's spelled Macron, this N is never pronounced. It's Macron, and you like hang out there with just like the well, everybody on TV is calling him President Macron. I'm going,
no.
What is it with you guys? So anyway,
because they didn't take French in school.
I wish that they had Miss Dowden, the fine French teacher from Fairmont Senior High School. All right, so let's just jump. Oh man, we have just enough time. I'm thinking.
Shall we go to the T-Rex
Let's do the T-Rex sale because
okay.
you and I are literally, as we looked over to our left, the window of Smart Center Market here in Wheeling. You have a very nice replica.
We have a
Sue,
wonderful
the head
replica of a T-Rex skull, and we also have, coming out of the side of our building, replica of a fleshed Rex.
Oh, fleshed
head.
Rex. That sounds scary right there.
It's very scary.
Please don't say flesh in the same word sentence with T-Rex. Anyway, this is a very thoughtful article about what happens. Well, I think about this with like archaeology, where people go, we were trying to determine the habitation site south of Wheeling here, and it turns out everybody like came and stole everything. And it's now for sale at places.
So this is expected to sell for at least $15 million.
Wow. But here's the part that's crazy.
Whoa. So
listen to the October 2020.
Is it just the skull?
No, this is one that has an entire. It's between 15 and 25 million. They're anticipating, but there was a question because they have some bones that were replaced, and so there was some little controversy.
Yeah, sure.
Are these all the real bones, or are these fake? But what has shocked them is that it said when they sold Sue the T-Rex, it was like 8.3. That was really crazy. But it said a nearly complete skeleton known as Stan. Was sold in October 2020 when the bidding war drove it to $31.8 $28
That's
million.
crazy.
Holy smokes! I got to start the music here.
The highest ever paid for any fossil.
Jeez, I can understand that. I dropped out of the bidding early, around 20 million. I don't know about you, but so that's. But the long story short here is that there's a big concern that with these things becoming another one of those collectible commodities,
Then no museum could possibly ever afford them.
and the other thing is a lot of the stuff will just be like, it's like, well, why can't we see some of the great art that was done by Picasso? Well, they go, well, it's because it's in the private vault of somebody, and you're never going to see it.
Right.